Please, don't hurt me. I can't stand up." A trembling voice echoed through the dark alleyway of the Lower East Side, where flickering streetlights reflected on puddles of rainwater. A pristine white suit, once a symbol of power in New York's financial world, was now nothing more than a soaked, mud-stained piece of fabric. Elena Morales, the 29-year-old CEO of Morales Helix Ventures, once featured on the cover of Forbes, was now curled up under the rain, her swollen ankle rendering her unable to move. A man's shadow approached, step by step, slow, menacing. And then, another voice broke through, deep, steady, commanding, "Step back!" Now the tone was calm, yet carried a power that made the attacker freeze in place. Marcus Bennett, a 31-year-old single father, stood there in his drenched coat, his little daughter still in his arms. He stepped into the beam of a car's headlights, his eyes unwavering, fearless, resolute. There was only one thing clear in every word he spoke. "I won't let this happen." The attacker retreated, then vanished into the darkness. Marcus knelt beside Elena, his voice softening. "You're safe now." Elena looked at him through the blur of rain and tears. She didn't know who he was, but in that fleeting moment, something deep inside her shifted. For the first time in her life, Elena felt truly seen. Not because she was a CEO, not because she had money or power, but simply because she needed to be saved. But this isn't just a story about a rainy night. It's a story about a woman who once had everything, yet never knew what real love was. About a man who had lost everything, yet still found the grace to give. And about a 6-year-old girl who once drew a picture with an empty space shaped like a person, waiting for someone worthy to fill it. 3 months after that night, Elena would stand in a boardroom, face to face with the one who betrayed her. She would give up everything, but reclaim herself. And that journey began the moment Marcus gently said, "You can stay. It's okay if you believe that sometimes strangers can save us more deeply than those we know. Hit subscribe and follow me on this journey. And tell me, what if the person who saved you in your darkest hour turned out to be the one who teaches you how to love yourself again?" Brooklyn, 3 months earlier. Marcus Bennett never imagined that a small promise to his daughter would change his entire life. "I promise, sweetheart. If you behave today, Daddy will buy you a cheese hot dog." Hazel, 6 years old, with messy curls and big round eyes, clutched her father's hand and hopped along the rain-soaked sidewalk. Her old yellow raincoat reflected the streetlights like a little firefly lost in the night. Marcus smiled. This was the kind of moment that made all the exhaustion fade away. Not because of his job-fixing washing machines, not because of the cramped third-floor apartment, but because of that smile. The only thing left after Emily passed away 2 years ago. "Daddy, do clouds get sad when they have to cry all the time?" Marcus knelt down so their eyes met. "No, sweetheart. The clouds just give away what they have, to help other things grow. Like how you give me hugs." Marcus's heart tightened. This child always touched the deepest place inside him. They turned into an alley to shorten their route. Marcus knew this area. He used to patrol here back when he was a firefighter. Familiar, safe, until he heard that pleading voice. "Please, don't hurt me. I can't stand up." The rescue instinct within him flared, but he had Hazel. "Daddy, is she going to die?" Marcus crouched down, gripping his daughter's shoulders. "Hazel, stay here. I'll be right back." "But Daddy—" "Trust me, sweetheart." Hazel hugged her stuffed bunny tightly and nodded. Headlights sliced through the darkness. Marcus saw a tall man advancing toward a woman curled up on the ground. Her white suit was smeared with mud. Her blonde hair was drenched, her ankles swollen and bruised. Yet her eyes, a mix of despair and defiance, held the look of someone who refused to give in. "Step back." Marcus's voice was low, firm. The man turned, their eyes locked. Marcus had once run into burning houses, pulled people from rubble, and stared death in the face without flinching. The attacker could sense that. "This isn't your business." "It is now." Step back. Now 1 second. 2. 3. The man slowly backed away, then disappeared into the night. Marcus knelt beside the woman. Her ankle was badly swollen. Her trembling hands clutched a laptop. "You're safe now." She looked at him, lips quivering. Rain mixed with her tears. "I need to get you to a hospital." "No. They'll find me." Marcus understood instantly. She was running from something far more dangerous. "No hospital, but you need bandages." He took off his coat and placed it over her shoulders. "I'll take you to my place." "Why would you help a stranger like me?" Emily's voice echoed in his head. "If I'm not here anymore, promise me you'll help those who need it." "Because I can't." Marcus gently lifted her into his arms. "Because it's the right thing to do." Elena rested her head against his shoulder. For the first time in months, she felt safe. Hazel was still there, soaked, shivering slightly, but not moving from her spot. "Daddy, is she okay?" "She's hurt. We're going to help her." Hazel nodded and stepped closer. She took off her pink wool scarf, the last gift her mother had left her, and laid it softly over Elena's arm. To keep her warm. Elena opened her eyes and looked at the little girl. Tears fell, blending into the rain. In the rainy night of Brooklyn, 3 people from 3 different worlds began a journey of connection no one could have foreseen. Brooklyn apartment. Williamsburg. There was no elevator. Marcus carried Elena up 3 flights of old wooden stairs, each step creaking under his weight. Hazel ran ahead, opened the door, and turned on the light. Warm yellow light spilled out, not the harsh glare of LED bulbs, but the soft glow from a faded fabric lampshade, like an embrace. Elena opened her eyes and looked around. The apartment was small, barely the size of the walk-in closet in her penthouse. The old leather sofa was worn at the edges. The coffee table had a burn mark, and the refrigerator was covered in children's drawings. Yet it was clean, neat, and it smelled faintly of cinnamon and vanilla. "Sorry it's a bit cramped," Marcus said, lowering her onto the sofa. "But it's warm." "And safe," Elena didn't answer. In 29 years, she had never been in a place like this. Not because she was too rich, but because it was too real. Hazel stood in the corner, clutching her stuffed bunny, watching Elena. Then, in a small voice, she said, "You cry just like me when I miss Mommy." Elena froze. The scarf slipped from her hands. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. In Elena Morales's world, tears were a weakness. But this 6-year-old had looked straight into her heart. Marcus came out with a first aid kit. "Hazel, sometimes grown-ups need to cry, too." "It's okay." Hazel walked over and placed her bunny on Elena's lap. "You can hold Mr. Fluffy." When I'm sad, hugging him helps. Elena looked at the bunny. Old, one ear stitched back on, the eyes faded. But it had been loved. She hugged it, and then she cried, unrestrained, unfiltered. Marcus knelt beside her, silent, just there, waiting until the sobs softened. "I need to check your ankle." Marcus gently removed her broken high heel and the torn silk stocking. His hands were rough, calloused, scarred, but his touch was astonishingly gentle. It's badly swollen, but not broken. Probably a sprain. He looked up. Try moving your toes. It hurt, but she could move them. Good. Not too bad. He pressed a cold compress against her ankle, wrapping it carefully. Each movement deliberate, practiced. How long have you been doing this? I used to be a firefighter. A paramedic. Why did you stop? Marcus paused. Because there was something I couldn't save. Hazel spoke softly. There was a little girl in a fire. Daddy tried really hard, but heaven needed her more. Elena's chest tightened. This man had lost too much, and yet he'd still saved her. You should change into dry clothes. Marcus handed her a gray sweater and sweatpants. Not your style, but warm. In the bathroom, the mirror reflected a disheveled woman. Hair tangled, mascara smeared, lips pale. Her Chanel suit looked like shredded fabric now. She had once been a powerful CEO. Now she was just a lost woman. She slipped into the sweater. The fabric was coarse. It smelled like cheap detergent, but it was warm. Warm like a wordless comfort. When she stepped out, Marcus was making tea. Hazel was drawing. Ginger tea, he said. For the pain. Keeps you warm. The spicy heat spread down her throat. It's good. My wife's recipe. She used to say ginger tea could fix everything, from a cold to a broken heart. And a tired soul, Hazel chimed in. Marcus smiled. That too. Elena looked at them. The woman who had passed away was still there, in the tea, in their laughter, in the way they treated a stranger. Late that night, Elena woke up. The laptop beside her, still there, held the evidence that could destroy an empire. She had to leave. She couldn't drag them into danger. Her hand reached for the doorknob, but then she saw her shoes had been cleaned, the torn soles sewn back. Next to them lay a neatly folded towel and a small note. Your ankle's not healed yet. Stay. It's okay. Elena picked up the note, her hands trembling. She had once had everything. Tall houses, vast wealth, fame. But no one had ever written her words like these. No condition, no demand. Just stay. It's okay. Elena sank to her knees, clutching the note to her chest, and cried, not out of fear, but because for the first time she was allowed to be fragile. Morning light streamed through the window, casting a glow over Hazel's pink scarf. A new day began, and with it, a new beginning. The hiss of the kettle woke Elena. The smell of drip coffee filled the air. Hazel's whisper drifted across the room. Daddy? Is she still asleep? Shh. Let her rest, sweetheart. Elena opened her eyes. Soft, golden sunlight streamed through the window. Her ankle felt better. Marcus had bandaged it skillfully. Good morning. Marcus handed her a cup of tea. Sleep okay? I did. Better than many nights before. This was the first night in 3 months she hadn't dreamed of Victor, hadn't jolted awake at the sound of footsteps chasing her. Hazel ran over. What's your name? Elena. Pretty. Sounds like a princess. I'm not a princess. Well, Daddy says he's not a knight either. But last night, he saved you. Hazel said it seriously. Maybe you're a princess and just don't know yet. Marcus smiled, setting the tea down. I'm going to work today. You can rest here. There's food in the fridge. Aren't you afraid I'm a bad person? Marcus looked straight at her. Bad people don't cry like you did last night. They don't hold a stuffed bunny like it's a treasure. Marcus left for work, and the apartment settled into a gentle quiet. Birds chirped, cars murmured in the distance. Hazel rummaged through her box of crayons. Sit here. Hazel pointed to a small chair. Draw what you like. I like drawing flowers because flowers are happy. Elena held a blue crayon, staring at the blank page, empty like her life. But this time it wasn't frightening. She drew awkwardly. A small house, a window, a tree. Pretty, but it's missing people. Hazel added 3 stick figures. This one is you. I don't know what color dress you like yet. You're drawing me into your family? You're here. That makes you family, so simple. No contract, just being here. Elena hugged Hazel, gently, as if she might break. Thank you, sweetheart. By afternoon, Elena opened the fridge, wanting to cook as a thank you. But the woman who signed million-dollar contracts didn't know how to fry an egg. Do you need help? Hazel dragged a chair over. Daddy taught me. I can fry eggs myself, Elena blushed. Show me then. Turn on the stove, not too high or it burns. Crack the egg gently. The first one shattered. The second had bits of shell. The third was okay. You're good, Hazel clapped, but Elena forgot to flip it. The egg stuck, burned, clumped. They looked at each other and burst out laughing. I'm not meant to be a cook. That's okay. Next time it'll be better. I burned my first one, too. Smelling the burn, Marcus rushed in. Hazel! You stopped. Elena and Hazel were sitting on the floor amid scattered flour, eggshells, and a blackened pan. Both were laughing, Hazel with flour on her nose, Elena with sauce on her cheek. Miss Elena was teaching me something, but it burned. Elena stood up, embarrassed. I wanted to cook to thank you, but I'm not very good. Marcus looked at the kitchen, then at his daughter's smile, the brightest since Emily passed. He laughed out loud. That's okay. Let's order pizza. The 3 sat around the table. A medium pizza, not gourmet, but to Elena, the best she'd ever tasted. You've never cooked before? Hazel asked. No. I had someone cook for me. Wow, you live in a mansion. Kind of like a mansion, but cold. Not warm like this. Mommy said a home doesn't have to be big, just full of love. Marcus pulled his daughter close, eyes glistening. Elena looked at them, at the pizza, at the drawing on the fridge, and understood that what she'd been searching for all her life wasn't success. It was coming home. Hazel slept. Marcus sat by the window. Elena came to stand beside him. You're not going to ask what I'm running from? When you're ready, you'll tell me. I once had everything, but it was all chosen by others. I've never been allowed to choose. And you? You lost your wife? You raise your daughter? Aren't you lonely? Yes, but I have Hazel. I have the duty to give her a good life. So I keep going, you're a good man. I'm just trying to do what's right. Like my wife taught me, under the warm yellow light, 2 wounded hearts touched. Quietly. Healing. The first week passed like a dream with no end. Elena woke not to an alarm, but to Hazel's laughter. The little girl always rose early, climbed onto a kitchen chair to pour milk, sometimes spilling it, but always proud. Miss Elena, I made breakfast. Marcus left the house at 6, but he always left behind a cup of warm ginger tea, covered with a cloth. Next to it, a note. Painkillers in the drawer. Take them after breakfast. Hazel likes bananas. M. Short, simple lines, yet filled with care. The kind of care Elena had never received from Victor, even after more than a year of engagement. On the 4th day, Hazel tugged Elena toward the study table. Today, I'll teach you the most important thing. Draw when you're sad. Draw when I'm sad. Mommy said if you keep sadness inside, it gets heavy. Draw it out, and you'll feel lighter. Elena picked up a pen, hesitant. She was sad about her father forcing the engagement, about Victor's deceit, and about herself, for being lost. Her sketch was clumsy, black and gray lines tangled like knotted ropes. Now, Draw something that makes you happy. Elena paused. She didn't know what still made her happy. Let me draw it for you, Hazel said. The girl drew a yellow sun, blue sky, green grass, 3 stick figures, one tall, one small, one with long hair. You're happy when you're with Daddy and me, right? Tears rolled down Elena's cheeks, but they were healing tears. Yes, sweetheart, I really am. That evening, Marcus came home late, exhausted. The moment he opened the door, he smelled it. Something fragrant. Fried rice? Daddy's home. Hazel grabbed his hand. Miss Elena cooked. It didn't burn this time. On the table, fried rice, slightly browned. Soup a little thin but hot. Cucumber slices uneven but well seasoned. Elena stood by the stove, apron tied around her waist, cheeks flushed pink. I know it's not perfect, but Hazel helped. I wanted to give something back. Marcus looked straight into her eyes. Thank you. Just 2 words, but warm enough to make Elena feel she'd done something greater than signing a $1 million deal. The 3 sat around the table. Hazel talked about school. Marcus listened. Elena sat quietly, watching. It was something she'd never had before. A simple dinner. No urgent calls, no frantic emails, no pressure. Only peace. The small balcony, cool breeze, the sound of car horns, laughter from a nearby bar, a train rumbling far away. You're not going to ask about the laptop? That's something important to you. You'll tell me when you're ready. It has evidence of Victor's illegal transactions. He wanted to take over the company. I almost let him. Why? Because I thought it was love. The closest thing to love I was ever allowed to have. My father arranged the marriage to protect the company. I wanted to make him proud. I convinced myself Victor loved me. But he didn't. No. What he had were secret contracts, hidden calls. And that night, her hands trembled. Marcus placed his over hers, warm, steady. You don't have to say more. I understand silence. What about you? What was your wife like? Emily was light itself. Always hopeful in the hospital. Always smiling, even through pain. She taught me that love isn't about holding on. It's about giving. Do you miss her? Every day. But she wouldn't want me to live trapped in the past. She told me, if I go and you meet someone worthy, open your heart. Have you met someone yet? Marcus looked back at her, deep and sincere. I'm not sure. Maybe Elena's heart skipped a beat. They sat together beneath the Brooklyn stars. What was growing between them wasn't yet love, but a quiet, tender connection taking root. Before heading to his room, Marcus paused. Elena, whatever happens, you're not alone anymore. Elena's eyes stung, but she smiled. Thank you for seeing me. Not Elena Morales, the CEO. Just Elena, the woman finding her way home. On the 10th day since that fateful rainy night, Elena woke up with a strange feeling, like the sky before a storm. She looked out the window. Brooklyn's streets were peaceful as always. Yet somewhere deep down, something felt wrong. The old phone Marcus had lent her for emergencies buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared. We know where you are, Miss Morales. The board wants to see you. As soon as possible, Elena's heart froze. Her trembling hand dropped the phone to the floor. They had found her. That afternoon, while Marcus was at work and Hazel was napping, the doorbell rang. Elena froze in place. She didn't dare look through the peephole, didn't dare move. Then a low, warm female voice called from outside, Miss Morales, it's Diane Chen, your former assistant. Please open the door. I came alone, Diane. The woman who had worked beside her for 5 years. The rare person at the company who used to ask, "Are you okay today?" instead of, "Is the contract signed yet?" Elena cracked the door open, cautious. Diane stood there in a gray suit, hair neatly tied back, eyes red from crying. Seeing Elena, she exhaled in relief. "Thank God, you're safe." "Diane, how did you find me?" "I didn't know exactly. I traced the security camera footage from that night. I had to come, to warn you." Diane glanced around, lowered her voice. "Victor is looking for you." "Not just him. Your father, too." Elena's blood ran cold. "My father?" Diane nodded. "He knows about the scandal. But instead of siding with you, he's trying to cover it up. He wants you to come back, sign a statement voiding all accusations against Victor, and proceed with the wedding." "No." Elena shook her head. "He can't." "He can, and he's already doing it." Diane handed her an envelope. "This is what I managed to copy. Emails, secret contracts, bank transfers. Enough to charge Victor. But you'll need a strong lawyer. And you have to act fast." Elena took the envelope, her hands trembling. "Why are you helping me? You could lose your job." Diane gave a sad smile. "I already did. They fired me this morning for disloyalty. But that's okay. Some things matter more than a job. And you're the only boss who ever asked about my daughter's name, who remembered my birthday." Tears welled up in Elena's eyes. She hugged Diane tightly. "Thank you. Thank you so much." That evening, Marcus came home to find Elena sitting at the table, her laptop open, papers scattered everywhere. Her face was tense, eyes swollen. "What happened?" he asked, dropping his backpack and sitting beside her. Elena told him everything. About Diane, her father, the pressure closing in. "They want me to go back. Pretend nothing happened. Marry Victor. Keep living inside that gilded cage." Marcus stayed silent, listening. "But I can't," Elena said, her voice trembling. "Because if I go back, I'll lose myself. Forever. So what do you want to do?" "I want to fight. Expose Victor. Prove I'm not anyone's puppet." Marcus nodded. "Then fight. But it'll be dangerous. Victor has money, power. He could hurt me. Or—" Elena glanced toward the bedroom where Hazel was sleeping soundly. "Or hurt anyone near me." Marcus placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Elena, listen to me. I've run into burning houses and stared death in the face. I'm not afraid of Victor, or anyone. But Hazel needs to learn that the right thing is rarely the easy thing. Good people have to stand up to bad ones." Marcus met her eyes. "You're not fighting this alone anymore." Elena broke down in tears. This time not from fear, but because, for the first time in her life, she had someone standing beside her. Night fell. Hazel was asleep, and the two of them sat down to make a plan. "First, we need somewhere safer," Marcus said. "Brooklyn's compromised. I'll take you and Hazel to Door County, Wisconsin, to my mother's farm. Remote, quiet, hard to trace." "What about your job?" "I'll take leave. There's nothing more important right now." Elena nodded. "Then what?" "You'll need a lawyer, someone who won't back down from power. I've got an old friend, Daniel Torres. Used to be a prosecutor, now works independently. He owes me a life, owes you a life. 5 years ago, I pulled him out of a crash. He said, 'Anytime I need him, just call.' Now's that time." A flicker of hope lit up Elena's eyes. "What about the evidence?" "You've got the laptop. Diane gave you the documents. The problem is how to make it public before Victor strikes first." They thought it through in silence. Then Elena said quietly, "I know a journalist, Sarah Mitchell. investigative reporter at the Boston Globe. She once wanted to write about corruption in the finance world, but lacked proof. If I give her this, the story will spread faster than Victor can contain it. Marcus nodded. Good. Very good. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony, looking at the city one last time before leaving. Marcus stepped out, draping a sweater over her shoulders. It's cold. Thank you. They stood quietly for a while. Do you regret it? Elena asked softly. Saving me that night? Marcus turned, surprised. Why would I? Because now you're tangled up in my mess. Because Hazel could be in danger. Because... Marcus lifted a finger to her lips, silencing her. I don't regret it. Not for a second. Their eyes met. Something had shifted. No longer just compassion. No longer just kindness. Something deeper. Stronger. Marcus slowly lowered his hand, careful not to cross a line. We should sleep. We leave early tomorrow. Elena nodded, heart pounding. As she turned to go inside, Marcus called softly, Elena. Yes? You're stronger than you think, and I'm here, always. Not a promise of romance, but a promise of solidarity. For Elena, that was enough. The next morning, the old car carried the three of them out of Brooklyn, toward Door County, toward refuge, toward hope. 5 a.m. The sky was still dark. Marcus loaded the backpacks onto the bed of his old pickup truck, a 2008 Ford, paint faded, but engine strong. Hazel sat in the back seat, hugging her stuffed bunny, eyes still heavy with sleep. Daddy, why are we leaving so early? Because we're going on an adventure, sweetheart, Marcus said, fastening her seatbelt with a smile. To visit Grandma. Grandma! Hazel perked up instantly. Will she make apple pie? Of course she will. Marcus smiled, though a flicker of worry crossed his eyes as he glanced back at the apartment building. Elena stepped out, wearing Marcus's hoodie, too big, sleeves covering her hands. She carried a small backpack, the laptop, a few borrowed clothes, and the picture Hazel had drawn for her. That was all she had left. She turned back for one last look at the old building, the place she had entered 10 days ago as a broken woman, and now the place she was leaving as someone learning to put herself back together. Ready? Marcus asked quietly. Elena nodded. I'm ready. The truck rolled out of Brooklyn at dawn. They merged onto Interstate 80 West, heading through Pennsylvania, across Ohio, toward Wisconsin. Over 1,000 miles, about 15 hours on the road. Hazel fell asleep within 10 minutes, head resting on the window, clutching her bunny tight. Elena sat in the passenger seat, watching the view. The buildings receded, giving way to open fields, winding roads, and an endless blue sky. Your first time leaving New York? Marcus asked, eyes on the road. Not the first. Elena hesitated. But the first time I'm leaving because I want to. Not because of a business trip. How does it feel? Elena thought for a moment. Scary, but freeing. They fell silent. Only the hum of the engine, the wind slipping through the window crack, and Hazel's soft breathing filled the air. They stopped at a small gas station somewhere in Pennsylvania. Hazel woke up asking to use the restroom, then begged for pancakes. They don't have pancakes here, sweetheart, Marcus chuckled. But how about waffles? Okay, waffles are good too. While waiting, Elena stood beside the coffee machine, watching Marcus and Hazel sitting outside at a metal table. Hazel was animatedly describing her dream about a pink dragon that baked desserts. Marcus listened seriously. So the dragon baked with fire? No, Daddy. If it used fire, everything would burn. The dragon used warmth instead. Their laughter rang out, bright, genuine. unrestrained. Elena suddenly realized, through all the lavish parties and corporate banquets, she had smiled countless times, but those were polite, practiced smiles. Now, for the first time, she wanted to learn to smile like them, to smile because she was alive, not because she had to. By the time they reached Ohio, dusk had settled. After a simple roadside dinner, Hazel drifted back to sleep. Marcus turned on the radio. A soft country song played. Hardly Elena's usual taste, but it fit the moment perfectly. "Aren't you afraid?" she asked suddenly. "Afraid of what?" "Afraid of what's coming. Of Victor finding us. I'm afraid," Marcus said plainly, "but not of Victor." "I'm afraid of doing nothing." Elena turned toward him. "Emily once told me, if I'm gone, don't be afraid to live. Be afraid of merely existing. For 2 years, I've only existed, working, raising Hazel, sleeping, repeating. Until I met you, I feel alive again." Elena's heart clenched. "Marcus, I'm not saying this to make you feel indebted," he added quickly. "I just want you to know, I'm not helping you out of kindness. I'm helping you because you helped me find myself again." Elena was speechless. She simply placed her hand over his on the steering wheel. Marcus didn't pull away. He laced his fingers through hers. They drove on in silence, hand in hand, toward an uncertain future. It was nearly 11 at night when they arrived in Door County. Hazel stirred, pressing her face to the window. No more neon lights or car horns, just wide cornfields, scattered wooden houses, and a sky overflowing with stars. "Daddy! Look! So many!" Elena looked up too. The last time she'd seen a sky like that, she couldn't even remember. Marcus turned down a small birch-lined road and stopped in front of a cozy wooden house. The porch light glowed. Smoke rose gently from the chimney. The door opened. A woman in her 60s, silver hair tied neatly, hand-knit sweater, kind yet sharp eyes, stepped out. "Marcus!" She opened her arms. He hugged her tightly. "I'm home, Mom." "Grandma!" Hazel squealed, running into her arms. Clara bent down, kissing the little girl's messy curls. Then her gaze shifted to Elena, who stood uncertainly by the truck. "And this must be the young woman my son told me about." Elena approached, nervous. "Hello, ma'am." "I'm Elena. I'm sorry for—" Clara didn't let her finish. She stepped forward and pulled Elena into a firm, tender hug, the kind of motherly embrace Elena had never known. "You don't need to apologize," she said softly. "You need rest. You're safe here." Tears spilled from Elena's eyes. She hugged the woman back, silently grateful. Inside, the fireplace crackled warmly. The scent of baked apple pie filled the kitchen. On the walls hung family photos. Marcus as a child in a firefighter's uniform, Marcus and Emily's wedding picture, baby Hazel wrapped in a blanket. Clara had already prepared a room for Elena, small but spotless, with a soft bed and a window overlooking the fields. "Sleep well, dear," she said, closing the door. "Tomorrow will be better." Elena lay down, exhausted, but for the first time in weeks, she felt safe. Through the window, moonlight spilled silver over the grass while the breeze stirred the wheat. And she understood. This wasn't just a place to hide. It was a place to heal. The days in Door County, where Elena would learn how to live again. The crowing of roosters woke Elena at 6 o'clock. She blinked several times. No car horns, no drilling, only birdsong and the whisper of wind slipping through the window frame. She sat up and looked outside. A thin veil of mist covered the fields like a white blanket. The birch trees blazed with gold and amber under the morning sun. In the distance, Clara was feeding the chickens, a floral apron tied around her waist. Elena slipped on a wool sweater and stepped onto the porch. The air was crisp and clean, the scent of damp earth, dry leaves, and fireplace smoke blending together. She took a deep breath, feeling her chest open fully for the first time in years. "Sleep well, dear?" Clara smiled, scattering more grain. "Very well." "I haven't slept that soundly in a long time." Clara nodded. "This land has something that heals people." Marcus's grandmother, Hazel's great-grandmother, used to say, "This place doesn't rush. That's why it gives you time to find yourself again." Elena gazed out across the fields. The words sank deep into her heart. After breakfast, homemade toast, fresh eggs, strawberry jam, Clara led Elena to the back garden. "Today we weed," she said, handing Elena a pair of worn gardening gloves. "Sounds dull, but it's the most important lesson." "What lesson is that?" "Learning to tell weeds from flowers." They knelt by the flower bed. Clara pointed to a plump green sprout. "You think this one's a weed?" Elena thought for a moment. "Looks like it." "No, that's a chrysanthemum coming up. Pull it, and you'll lose your autumn bloom." Then she gestured to the plant beside it. "Now, this one is the weed. Looks similar, but if you let it grow, it'll steal all the nutrients." Elena nodded quietly. "Life's the same," Clara said softly, plucking the weed by its root. "Some things look good. An impressive job, a powerful man, glittering fame. But if they drain your soul, they're weeds. You have to pull them out. And what if you pull out a real flower by mistake?" Clara smiled. "A real flower grows back. Its roots run deep." That afternoon, while Hazel napped and Clara went to the market, Marcus took Elena to a special place, a small hill behind the farm, shaded by an old oak tree. Beneath it stood a modest headstone, Emily Rose Bennett, 1990 to 2023. "She taught us to love without fear." Elena froze, unable to step closer. "This is where she wanted to be," Marcus said softly. "Not in a crowded cemetery. A place where Hazel can play, where there's sunshine and wind. Would you introduce me to her?" Elena asked, her voice trembling. Marcus looked surprised, then smiled. He turned toward the stone, speaking as if to a friend. "Emily, this is Elena. She's the woman I saved 3 weeks ago. Though honestly, she's probably the one saving me now." Elena felt her eyes sting. "You once told me that if I met someone good, I shouldn't be afraid," Marcus continued, his voice tightening. "But I still am, Emily. Afraid to love again. Afraid that if I'm happy, it means I've forgotten you." Elena placed her hand gently on his shoulder. Marcus squeezed it, then said quietly, "But I think you'd like Elena. She's strong yet fragile. She's lost as much as I have. And she truly loves Hazel." Elena knelt down, and for the first time she found herself speaking to someone who was gone. "Emily, I don't know if you can hear me, but thank you for teaching Marcus how to love, for giving Hazel such a kind heart. And if you'll allow it, I promise I won't try to replace you. I only want to stand beside them." The wind rustled through the leaves. Marcus helped Elena to her feet and pulled her into his arms. No words, but Elena felt as if Emily herself had given her blessing. That night, Hazel climbed into Elena's bed, clutching her bunny. "Miss Elena, can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart." "Do you love my daddy?" Elena's face flushed. "Why do you ask that?" "Because Daddy looks at you differently. He doesn't look at anyone that way. Not even after Mommy died." Elena was speechless. She had never truly loved anyone. Victor wasn't love. He was an arrangement, a deal, a lie. But Marcus... I'm not sure. I'm still trying to understand my heart." Hazel nodded solemnly. Mommy said love isn't what you say. It's what you do. Do you do nice things for Daddy? Elena thought of the mornings she tried to cook breakfast, the days she watched Hazel so Marcus could work, the nights she listened to him talk about the past. Yes, I've tried. Then you love Daddy, Hazel beamed. I knew it. She kissed Elena on the cheek, then skipped off to her room, leaving Elena frozen, wondering if she really was falling in love with Marcus. Near midnight, Elena couldn't sleep. She went out to the porch and sat on the old rocking chair. Marcus was already there, holding a mug of coffee. Can't sleep? Too many thoughts. About Victor? The company? About you? Marcus turned, startled. Elena took a breath. I have to say this. I don't know if what I'm feeling is right or wrong, if it's love or gratitude, or just me clinging to the man who saved me. Elena, but I know that when I'm near you, I feel safe. When I see you with Hazel, I want to be part of that. And when you hold my hand, I don't want you to let go. Silence hung between them. Marcus set his cup down, turning fully toward her. I feel the same, he confessed. Since that night, when I saw you clutching that laptop like your life depended on it, I knew you weren't like anyone else I'd met. He placed his hand gently on her cheek. But I'm scared. Scared that I'm taking advantage of you while you're vulnerable. Scared that once you're strong again, you'll realize I'm just a guy who fixes washing machines, not someone worthy of a CEO. Marcus, Elena held his hand. Don't you see? I don't want to be a CEO anymore. I just want to be Elena. And this Elena wants to love you. Their eyes met. This time, Marcus didn't hesitate. He kissed her, softly, slowly, reverently, as if cradling something precious. When they finally parted, his forehead rested against hers. Let's take it slow, okay? I don't want to rush and ruin this. Elena smiled. Slow is fine. I agree. They both knew. They were already in love. But peace never lasts forever. Because the past rarely knows how to stay buried. The days in Door County flowed as gently as a slow-moving river. Elena learned to garden with Clara, to cook without burning the food, and to paint alongside Hazel. Marcus repaired the old fence, chopped firewood for winter, and in the evenings sat with Elena on the porch, talking late into the night. Yet deep inside, Elena still carried a quiet unease, like the stillness before a storm. One afternoon, while hanging laundry, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Boston. She hesitated, then answered. Miss Morales. A low, professional male voice said, This is Daniel Torres, attorney. Marcus reached out to me. Yes, I know who you are. He mentioned you. I've reviewed the documents you sent. The evidence is strong. But we have a problem. Elena's heart raced. What problem? Victor Delgado knows you're preparing to expose him. He's spreading claims that you're mentally unstable, that you stole company files, and that you're on the run. Some outlets have already picked up the story. The blood drained from Elena's face. They can't do that. They can. And they are. Your father, Mr. Richard Morales, just released a public statement. He's deeply concerned about your mental health and urges you to come home for treatment. Elena sank onto the porch steps, hands trembling. My father betrayed me like this? I'm sorry. It's a common tactic. Discredit the whistleblower before she can speak. By the time you talk, no one believes you. So, what do I do? Daniel paused for a beat. We take the offensive before they control the narrative completely. I've contacted Sarah Mitchell, the investigative reporter from the Boston Globe you mentioned. She's willing to meet. But you'll need to return to Boston. Return? Elena's breath caught. But I understand you're somewhere safe. But if you want to fight, you have to face them. You can't hide forever. That evening, Elena told Marcus and Clara. I have to go back to Boston, she said, her voice still shaking. I have to face Victor and my father. If I don't, they'll paint me as insane, and everything I've fought for will vanish. Marcus took her hand. Then we'll go together. No, Elena shook her head. You can't. Hazel needs you. I can't. Elena, Marcus interrupted, firm and steady. I told you before, you're not alone. Hazel will stay with my mom. I'm going with you. Clara nodded. Marcus is right. The girl will be perfectly safe here. But you need someone by your side, Hazel, clutching her stuffed bunny in the corner, suddenly spoke up. Miss Elena has to go beat the bad guys, right? Elena turned, forcing a smile. That's right, sweetheart. Then you have to go. In stories, the princess has to defeat the evil witch before she's happy. Hazel stepped forward and held out her bunny. Take Mr. Fluffy. He'll protect you. Elena hugged the bunny, then pulled Hazel into a tight embrace. I promise. I'll come back. I swear, I know. Because Daddy's going with you. The next morning, Marcus and Elena set out. This time, they weren't running. They were going to face the enemy. In the car, Elena opened her laptop, scrolling through emails, contracts, and bank records. Each line felt like a knife cutting into what little trust she had left for Victor and for her father. You okay? Marcus asked. No, Elena admitted. But I will be. I have to be. They stopped at a cafe near Chicago. Elena ordered a black coffee. Her hands trembled as she lifted the cup. Marcus placed his hand over hers, his gaze unwavering. Listen to me. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You survived that night, stood back up while still in pain, and had the courage to walk away from everything to find yourself again. Victor and your father, they can't destroy you anymore. But what if I lose? What if they win? Then we get back up and keep going, Marcus replied. But I don't think you'll lose. This time, you're not fighting for a company, for money, or for status. You're fighting for yourself. And that's the most powerful reason there is. Elena nodded, wiping away tears. Thank you. There's nothing to thank me for. We're a team. They reached Boston at dusk. The old city glowed with brick streets, colonial houses, and the salty tang of sea air drifting from the harbor. Daniel had arranged a meeting at a small cafe in Back Bay. Sarah Mitchell, early 40s, short hair, black-rimmed glasses, leather jacket, was already waiting. Miss Morales, Sarah stood to shake her hand. I've been following your story. So, you believe me? Elena asked. I'm a journalist. I don't believe or disbelieve. I look for truth. Sarah opened her laptop. But what you sent me, if verified, this could be the biggest corporate scandal of the year. Elena slid a USB drive across the table. Everything's here. Emails, contracts, wire transfers. I've backed up everything. Sarah plugged it in, scrolling through the files. Her brow furrowed. Good Lord. Victor Delgado siphoned $15 million from company funds into his personal account, signed fake supplier contracts, and... Sarah looked up. Your father knew? Elena nodded, her voice cracking. He was complicit. To protect the family's reputation, he betrayed me. Sarah closed her laptop. I'll write the story. But once it's out, your life will change completely. Everyone will know. The media will swarm. Your father and Victor will retaliate with everything they have. I know. Elena said, her voice steady now. But I can't let them keep deceiving people. Not just me, but everyone else. Sarah smiled, respect in her eyes. You're brave, Miss Morales. I'll have the piece ready within 48 hours. But before that, prepare yourself for war. That night, Marcus and Elena stayed at a small hotel near the harbor. The waves crashed rhythmically outside. Elena stood by the window, staring at the dark ocean. Marcus came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. Tomorrow, it all begins, she whispered. I know. Are you scared? Yes, but I'm more afraid of losing you than of Victor. Elena turned to face him, eyes steady. Whatever happens, promise me you'll protect Hazel. I promise. But you have to promise, too, that you'll come back to us. Elena kissed him deeply, an unspoken vow. I'll come back. Because this time, I have something worth fighting for. They held each other tightly under Boston's cold moonlight, and both knew, tomorrow, the real battle would begin. Elena couldn't sleep. She lay on the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, counting every passing second. Marcus was on the sofa. He had insisted she take the bed, but his uneven breathing told her he wasn't asleep either. At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. A message from Sarah Mitchell. The article's done. It goes live at 6 a.m. Be ready. Attached was a PDF file. Elena opened it, hands trembling. The headline spread across the screen. Behind the Empire, How a CFO and a Father Betrayed Their Own. Subtitle: An exclusive investigation into the financial scandal at Morales Helix Ventures, and the story of a young female CEO who gave up everything to reclaim the truth. Elena read line by line. Sarah had written everything in detail: the illegal transactions, the fake contracts, the way Richard Morales, her father, shielded Victor to preserve the family's reputation. The article even included testimony from Diane Chen, Elena's former assistant. But the paragraph that struck her most came at the end. Elena Morales didn't run because she was weak. She left because she was brave. Brave enough to reject a life built on lies. Brave enough to confront those who should have protected her, but chose betrayal instead. And now she returns, not to reclaim a company, but to reclaim herself. Tears rolled down Elena's cheeks. Marcus stirred awake, saw her crying, and sat beside her. The article? Elena nodded, handing him the phone. When he finished reading, Marcus pulled her into his arms. Sarah wrote it perfectly. See? You're not the crazy woman they called you. You're your own hero. But when this goes live, there'll be no turning back. I know. And you don't want to go back, do you? Elena shook her head softly. No. I've already made my choice. The moment the article was published, the internet exploded. Within 30 minutes, it had been shared thousands of times. Twitter erupted with hashtag Morales Scandal and hashtag Stand with Elena. CNN, MSNBC, and Bloomberg all reached out to the Boston Globe for syndication rights. Daniel Torres's phone rang non-stop. He called Elena immediately. They're panicking. Victor wiped his social media. Morales Helix Ventures headquarters just shut down. And your father, he's issued an emergency statement. What statement? He denies everything, calls it a political smear campaign, and claims you've been manipulated by dangerous people. He's demanding you return home for treatment. Elena let out a dry laugh. He still thinks I'll obey him? That's not all. He's hired Boston's biggest PR firm to counterattack. They'll go after your credibility, Sarah's, and mine. So what do? We fight back, with the truth. Sarah's arranged a press conference at 2 p.m. today. You'll have to stand before the media and tell your story yourself. Elena's stomach tightened, facing cameras, facing the entire country. That was her greatest fear. Marcus squeezed her hand. I'll be right behind you. You're not alone. 2 p.m., Fairmont Copley Plaza. The press room was packed. Flashbulbs flickered. Microphones pointed at the podium. Elena walked in wearing a simple navy blue suit. No luxury brands, just clean and professional. Her hair was tied neatly, her makeup minimal. She looked out across the sea of faces. Some curious, some skeptical, some sympathetic. At the back of the room stood Marcus, straight and steady in a white shirt. He nodded once, just enough to steady her heart. Elena drew a deep breath, stepped up to the podium, and began to speak. Good afternoon. My name is Elena Morales. The room fell completely silent. I know many of you are here to learn the truth about the Morales Helix Ventures scandal. Today, I'm here to tell it, not through lawyers, not through journalists, but in my own voice. She paused, looking directly into the cameras. 3 months ago, I discovered that my fiancé, Victor Delgado, embezzled millions from our company. When I confronted him, he threatened me. I fled, was injured, and lived in fear. Flashes burst across the room, but Elena's voice stayed firm. But the deepest wound wasn't from Victor. It was from my father, Richard Morales. The man I expected to protect me chose instead to protect the family's reputation. Her voice wavered slightly, but no tears fell. I've lost many things, my company, my reputation, even my family. But I found something far more important. I found myself. She glanced toward Marcus. He smiled, nodding again. I'm not here to reclaim a company. I'm here to speak to every woman trapped in a toxic relationship, an oppressive job, or a suffocating family. You are not alone. You deserve respect and love, and you have the right to walk away from whatever breaks you. The applause began softly, then swelled, filling the room. A reporter raised his hand. Miss Morales, your father says you suffer from mental instability. What's your response? Elena gave a faint, sad smile. I'm not mentally ill. I was hurt by people who were supposed to love me, and I needed time to heal. That's not weakness, it's strength. Another reporter asked, Do you plan to press charges against Victor Delgado? Yes. My attorney has already filed the case. But this isn't about money. It's about justice. And the CEO position? I've resigned. I won't return to a company built on lies. I'm starting over, on my own terms. Leaving the conference room, Elena felt exhausted, but lighter. Marcus pulled her into an embrace. You were incredible. Daniel Torres approached. The board just announced an internal investigation. Victor's been suspended from all duties. And your father, he just resigned as chairman. Elena didn't feel triumph, only the quiet sense that a door had finally closed. So, it's over? Not completely. There'll still be legal proceedings. But the hardest part, you've already conquered. Elena nodded, then turned to Marcus. Are you ready to go home? Marcus smiled. Always. Hazel's waiting. And this time, home for Elena wasn't a penthouse in New York or a Hamptons villa. It was a small farmhouse in Door County, where Clara and Hazel waited, and where love asked for nothing in return. But before leaving Boston, there was still one final confrontation she had to face. That evening, while Elena and Marcus were packing their luggage to return to Door County, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Elena. A deep, familiar voice, one that haunted her memory. Her father. Richard Morales. Elena tightened her grip on the phone but said nothing. I need to see you. One last time. There's nothing left for us to say, sir. There is. His voice was hoarse. I know I was wrong. But at least, give me a chance to apologize. Face to face, Elena wanted to refuse, to hang up, to never see him again. But somewhere inside her, the 8-year-old girl who once sat on her father's shoulders at the park still longed for an explanation. Just once. Only once, she said quietly. Thank you. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., at Boston Common. I'll be waiting. Boston Common was quiet that autumn morning. Golden leaves blanketed the path. The faint scent of coffee drifted from a nearby cart. Elena sat on an old wooden bench. Marcus stood a few meters away, close enough to protect her, far enough to give her space. At exactly 10, Richard Morales arrived. He was no longer the imposing CEO from the magazines. His hair grayed, his shoulders hunched. The tailored suit remained, but he seemed hollow inside it. He sat down beside her. Silence lingered between them. You've lost weight, he said first. So have you. The silence returned. Then Richard spoke again, voice trembling. I'm sorry. Elena didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed on the sunlight rippling over the pond. Sorry for choosing reputation over your daughter? Sorry for making you believe your worth depended on success. Sorry for forcing you into a toxic marriage. Sorry that, when you needed me most, I wasn't there. Tears streamed down the face of the man who once commanded an empire, now just an old man drowning in regret. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know, I regret it. Every single day Elena turned to him. Why? Why did you choose Victor over your own daughter? Richard closed his eyes, as if weathering pain. Because I was afraid. Afraid of losing face. Afraid people would know that the company, what I'd spent my life building, had been corrupted from within. I thought if I covered it up, it would pass. But it didn't pass. It only got worse. I know. And you were 1,000 times braver than I ever was when you stood up to it. The anger that had simmered inside Elena for months slowly began to fade. Not because she had forgiven him, but because she finally saw her father not as a monster, but as a flawed, frightened man. Do you know, Elena spoke slowly, my whole life I tried to make you proud. Top of my class, Ivy League graduate, CEO at 27. Just to hear one sentence, I'm proud of you. Her voice cracked. But you never said it. Richard broke down. I did say it, but not to you. I bragged to partners, to friends, and forgot the only person who needed to hear it was you. He turned and took her hand. She froze, but didn't pull away. My daughter, I am proud of you. I've always been proud. I was just a terrible father who didn't know how to show it. I'm sorry. Elena looked straight into his eyes. Gone was the cold authority, the control. What remained was remorse and a belated kind of love. I don't know if I can ever forgive you completely, she said honestly. What you did left scars too deep. I understand. But I also don't want to carry hate. It only keeps me in pain. She inhaled deeply. I'll try to forgive you. Not today. Maybe not this year. But someday, Richard nodded, tears still flowing. That's all I could ever hope for. They sat in silence as yellow leaves drifted down like fragments of old memories. What will you do now? Richard asked. I'm starting over. Not with Morales Helix Ventures. I'm creating a non-profit to help women who've been abused or manipulated in positions of power. That sounds like you, Richard said with a sad smile. You've always had a kinder heart than mine. Elena stood. I have to go. Richard rose too, hesitant. Can I at least know where you'll be? So that if you ever need— No, Elena shook her head. I need distance. From you. From all of this, I understand. He paused. But if the day ever comes when you're ready, I'll be waiting. Elena nodded. Then she did something even she didn't expect. She hugged him. It was brief, not tight, but enough to say she still remembered he was her father. Goodbye, Dad. Goodbye, my daughter. When Elena turned back toward Marcus, she saw another man waiting nearby. Victor Delgado. Gone were the tailored suits. He wore a dark jacket, face gaunt, stubble unkempt, a shadow of the man he once pretended to be. Marcus immediately stepped forward, standing between them. She doesn't want to see you, he said coldly. I know. Victor's eyes met Elena's over Marcus's shoulder. But I need to say one thing. Elena placed a hand on Marcus's arm. It's all right. Let him speak. Victor kept a safe distance. I'm not here to apologize, because I know sorry isn't enough, he began. I used you. I traded your love for money and power. I'm disgusting. Then why are you here? Elena's voice was calm, almost detached. So, you'd know. I don't hate you. I hate myself. Victor lowered his eyes. And, to tell you, you deserve someone better. Someone like him. He nodded faintly toward Marcus. Elena said nothing. Victor turned to leave, took a few steps, then stopped. Elena, you're stronger than I ever imagined. I hope you find happiness. And he disappeared into the crowd. Marcus turned to her. Are you okay? Elena nodded. Yes, because now I know. I don't need anyone's validation anymore. I've already given it to myself. Marcus smiled and wrapped her in his arms. Then let's go home. For real this time? Home, Elena repeated, a soft, peaceful smile spreading across her face. Back to Hazel. Back to Clara. Back to our new life. 6 months later. Door County. Spring. Spring sunlight streamed through the Wisconsin window, spilling into the small room where Elena was working. No more sleek, glass-walled office overlooking Manhattan, just a humble wooden corner filled with warmth and hope. On the desk lay stacks of files, the stories of women learning to rise again after being broken. Hazel Home, the nonprofit Elena had founded, had been officially running for 3 months. The door burst open. Hazel ran in, clutching a handful of freshly picked daisies. Miss Elena, look, I picked so many. Elena smiled, taking the flowers. They're beautiful, sweetheart. Let's put them in a vase. I'll help. Hazel dragged a chair over, eyes bright with excitement. The two, more like two souls who had found each other after the storm, arranged the flowers together in an old glass jar. Hazel chattered about the baby birds hatching behind the barn and Grandma's promise to bake strawberry pie that afternoon. Oh, and one more thing, exclaimed the little girl. Dad said we're having a special guest today. A special guest? Who could that be? Hazel shrugged. I don't know. But Dad said you'll really like them. That afternoon, a car pulled into the yard. Elena glanced out the window and froze. Stepping out was Diane Chen, her former assistant. Diane! Elena rushed outside and hugged her tight. How did you even get here? Diane smiled, eyes glistening. Marcus contacted me. He said you needed an assistant for Hazel Home, and I wanted to be part of it. Elena blinked in surprise. But you already have a new job, don't you? I do, Diane nodded. But not the one I truly want. You once taught me that sometimes we have to give up safety to pursue meaning. I want to help you. Help other women. Elena hugged her again, tears welling up. Welcome home, Diane. That evening, 6 people gathered around the dinner table. Grandma Clara, Marcus, Elena, Hazel, Diane, and Daniel Torres, visiting from Boston. Grandma Clara roasted her signature chicken. Marcus made the salad, and Elena and Diane worked on dessert. This time, nothing burned. Daniel raised his glass. "All right, everyone. A toast to Hazel Home, which has already helped 15 women find safety and a new beginning." "Cheers," everyone echoed. Hazel lifted her glass of milk high. "I want to make a toast, too, to Miss Elena, for finding her family." The room went quiet for a beat, then burst into laughter and warmth. Elena looked around the table, at these faces, these hearts that had weathered the storm beside her. This was family. Not by blood, but by love, trust, and the courage to walk together through darkness toward the light. After dinner, Marcus and Elena walked together around the farm. The moon hung bright, casting silver light across a field of yellow mustard flowers. "Do you ever regret it?" Elena asked softly, "choosing this quiet life over noisy Brooklyn?" Marcus stopped and looked at her. "Regret? No. This is the happiest I've been since Emily passed." He gently squeezed her hand. "At first I was terrified. I thought loving you meant betraying her. But my mom told me something. The human heart isn't a safe. It's a room, big enough for many memories. Each one has its place. None erases another." Elena's eyes brimmed with tears. "You love me?" Marcus smiled, then knelt down. He pulled out a small silver ring engraved with a daisy. "Elena Morales, you don't have to answer right now. But I want you to know, I want to be with you. Not for 6 months, not for a year, but for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" Elena dropped to her knees in front of him, cupping his face. "Yes, Marcus Bennett. Yes, 1,000 times. Yes, they kissed under the moonlight. A kiss of rebirth and peace." Inside the house, Hazel peeked from the window, squealing with joy. "Grandma! Dad just proposed to Miss Elena. I have a mom now." 1 year later, spring returns. Door County bloomed with wildflowers and the hum of bees over open meadows. The small wooden house of the Bennett Morales family was now alive with laughter. Hazel's giggles, the scent of Grandma Clara's apple pie, and the soft aroma of coffee drifting from the kitchen. Elena sat on the porch, laptop open. She had just finished an online interview with a local TV station. Hazel Home had officially opened its second branch in Madison, helping more than 50 women and children find housing, jobs, and a chance to begin again. She looked out across the field, where Marcus and Hazel were fixing up the old shed into a summer reading room. The sound of their laughter carried through the breeze, bright and clear as glass chimes. Diane stepped outside, carrying 2 cups of chamomile tea. "We did it, Elena." Elena smiled. "No, we all did." Diane sat down beside her. "I still remember that day in Boston when you told me, every woman can start over, as long as she has somewhere she can trust. I don't think you realized then. That place was going to be here." Elena was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "Maybe I needed a home like this too, to find myself again." A soft breeze drifted by, carrying the scent of blossoms and faint guitar music from afar. Marcus was playing the song Emily once loved, but this time his gaze was fixed on Elena as he played. Their eyes met, tender, peaceful. No words were needed. Elena knew the past had finally been laid to rest, and from the ashes of loss, a new life had quietly taken root. That night, after Hazel had fallen asleep, Elena opened a new notebook and wrote on the first page, "If one day my daughter reads these words, I want her to know that true strength doesn't come from never falling, but from always choosing to rise. And kindness, no matter how small, always finds its way to grow again. Like daisies blooming each spring. She set the pen down, smiling. Elena Morales was no longer the woman who once fled through the rain. She was the woman who stood tall, moved forward, and helped others do the same. On the table sat the same glass jar, still holding the wild daisies Hazel had picked last spring, miraculously fresh. Moonlight streamed through the window, illuminating a framed photograph on the shelf. Marcus, Elena, Hazel, Grandma Clara, and Diane, all smiling. Beneath the picture, a hand-carved inscription read, "Home isn't a place. It's the people who choose to stay." The camera slowly pulls back. The warm glow of the wooden house flickers gently amid the dark Wisconsin night. A new chapter of their lives has begun. And this time, no one is afraid of the dark anymore. And that is the story of Elena Morales, a woman who once lost everything, but in the end, found what truly mattered, herself. If you've ever faced days when it felt like there was no way forward, remember, dawn always follows the longest night. And sometimes, what we lose isn't the end. It's life's reminder that we deserve a new beginning. Thank you for staying with us until the end of Elena's journey. If her story touched your heart, don't forget. Subscribe to follow more stories about courage, forgiveness, and rebirth. Turn on notifications so you won't miss our next video every week. And share in the comments below. What part of Elena's story moved you the most? See you in the next chapter of True Tale Time, where old wounds become the beginning of new light.